Alright guys, welcome back. It's Cameron from MTG One More Turn. You tend to know me from those MTG Eats, and I just did that Witherbloom upgrade deck. But today we're going to do something a little different. So D&D set is the next standard legal set that's going to come out. And so I looked into, thought some cool, interesting creatures that might get a little more love, some creature types that might get some boosts from either new cards or maybe some reprinted cards, to kind of see how that all fleshes out. If you like it, like, subscribe, all that jazz, but we're going to get right into it. So our first creature type is Kobold. Kobolds are super prevalent in D&D. They're a very common creature to fight. They're kind of like lizardy goblins. And there are actually a few kobolds, not a lot by any stretch, but there are a few, a lot around the Care Keep. So we're going to talk about some that maybe get a reprint, or just get a price jump because they print some more kobolds, or they print some more kobold lords. Kobolds are really known for being zero CMC, so like the generic kobolds, the Crookshank kobolds, the Crimson kobolds, and the kobolds of Care Keep are all 0 mana 0/1s that are all red. Then there's Rogark, son of Rog, who's new, just got printed in Commander Legends, but also follows that 0 mana 0/1 kobold creature, except he also has First Strike, Menace, Trample, and Partner, as Partner was the kind of thing in Commander Legends, and then some of the First Strike and Trample stuff will make more sense as you read about the Lords. The Lords tended to be 2 mana 1/2s, so we have like Kobold Taskmaster, who's 1 in a red, and he says that other kobold creatures get +1/+0. We have the Kobold Drill Sergeant, which is also 1 in a red and a 1/2, and it says other kobold creatures you control get +0/+1 and have Trample. And then finally there's the Kobold Overlord, which has First Strike and says other kobolds you control have First Strike, also 1 in a red for a 1/2. So these guys have pretty varying in price, with the Kobold Taskmaster being the cheapest one from the original Legends at only about 28 cents on TCG market price. But then Kobold Overlord, that First Strike one, is $78. So he's already pretty expensive, but some of them are a lot cheaper. But if they start printing some more kobolds or some more kobold lords, these guys are going to go up super quick because they're really old. They're from Legends, so they don't have really high printing. So they're pretty rare to get. That's why a lot of them have some pretty intense prices. Some other interesting stuff that I could see going up in price are the Care Keep stuff. So like Care Keep the Land, which is a legendary land that taps for a colorless, but also has 1 in a red tap to create a 0/1 red kobold creature named Kobolds of the Care Keep. Kind of like that 0/1 from Legends. So I can see this going up. It just got printed in Time Spiral Remastered, so I don't see it being reprinted by any stretch, especially because Care Keep is an actual place, and D&D Forgotten Realms set is set in the Forgotten Realms, so they're not going to have stuff from that place. But there's definitely stuff I expect to go up in price if they do print some more kobolds and kobold lords. Two other cards, Prosh, Skyraider of Care, who is a dragon. He's a legendary creature for 3, a black, a red, and a green. He has, whenever you cast this spell, create X 0/1 red kobold creature tokens named Kobolds of Care Keep, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast it. He's got flying and sacrifice another creature. Prosh, Skyraider of Care, gets +1/+0 until end of turn, and it's a 5/5. So this is a big dragon. It's got a lot of commander potential, a lot of sacrificing decks. Play Prosh because he's really good. And if you play some more kobolds, especially if they print some more kobolds in the D&D set, I could really see it going up in price, as just kind of excited. And it's only $2 right now. So yeah, there's a lot of kobold stuff, and kobolds are really prevalent in D&D, so I wouldn't be surprised to see that creature type resurface, and these guys being super old for the most part, except for Rogark and Prosh, as well as the Care Keep. So the original kobolds, I really see a bump in price. The next creature type I want to talk about is Dinosaurs. So it might not be well known if you don't know a lot about D&D, but the Forgotten Realms actually do have dinosaurs, and so a dinosaur card coming out of Forgotten Realms is really easy to see, especially some good ones, because they are pretty prevalent as well. So cards that care about dinosaurs, I could also see some price jumps, especially ones that aren't like super crazy, like Huatli Dinosaur Knight, who's a planeswalker for 4, a red and a white, and her +2 is put 2 +1/+1 counters on up to 1 target dinosaur. Her -3 is target dinosaur you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control, and its -7 is dinosaurs you control get +4/+4 until end of turn. And she starts at 4 loyalty. So a 6 mana planeswalker that starts at 4 loyalty, not the greatest by any stretch, but it does really care about dinosaurs, and a lot of dinosaur decks will put this in there just because of how much it helps out the dinosaur tribe. The next card I want to talk about is a dinosaur tutor, so obviously it's going to be pretty good in a dinosaur deck, even though it's only 34 cents on the TCG player market for some reason. And that's Priest of the Wakening Sun. So it's 1 white mana for a creature human cleric. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, you may reveal a dinosaur card from your hand. If you do, you gain 2 life. If you're playing a dinosaur deck, you're going to have dinosaurs in your hand. Not hard to play this guy on turn 1 and just gain 2 life every sequential turn that he's not dead, or you don't sacrifice him to his ability. So he's got an extra ability on there for 3, a white and a white, to sacrifice Priest of Awakening Sun. Search your library for a dinosaur card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your library. Bam! 5 mana is kind of high, but I mean it's been gaining you life, and you get to tutor for a dinosaur. Seems really good, and it's only 34 cents. So if they print a must-have dinosaur, or just a really good one, this guy I could see getting a little pump as he can just find it for free. Well, find it for 5, but nonetheless, he can search it out. Another one that I feel like people don't talk about a lot when you talk about dinosaurs is Kahera the Orphan Guard. She's 1, and then Selesnya, so you can play green or white, and then green or white. It's a legendary creature cat beast. It's got companions, so it's from Ikoria. It says each creature card in your starting deck is either a cat, elemental, nightmare, dinosaur, or beast card. Well, it shouldn't be too hard if you're playing a dinosaur tribal deck, though it means you can't have the Priest of the Awakening Sun in there. But it's a companion. It has vigilance. It says each other creature you control that is a cat, elemental, nightmare, dinosaur, or beast. We care about the dinosaur part. Gets +1/+1 and vigilance. Vigilance is so good in Commander and in really Magic in general. The ability to attack and defend without any of the repercussions of leaving yourself open is just so nice to have. And especially if you can make this your companion, so that you just always have it as an ability. You always can pay that 3, put it in your hand, and then toss it out. Just makes it a really good card. But even if it's not your companion, it's still a solid card to go into a dinosaur deck, and it's only 67 cents TCG player market, so seems like a card that is underrated and really could use some more play. And that's a common thing with dinosaurs, so just use some more support, right? Ixalan gave them a healthy amount, but they still are a new tribe, really, and so they could always use some more help, but I wouldn't be surprised to see that they get that in D&D Forgotten Realms. So the next dinosaur I wanted to talk about was Temple Altasaur. It's 4 and a white for a creature dinosaur. If a source would deal damage to another dinosaur you control, prevent all but 1 of that damage. Only 1. That's so nice. So you can get it so the way, even especially if you have Kahera out, so they have +1/+1 in vigilance, so they're just swinging in, and they just don't die. Unless they, so for example, Temple Altasaur is a 3/4. Now, obviously it doesn't apply to him, but if you had another 3/4 dinosaur, they'd have to block it with 4 creatures just to kill it. And so, I mean, basically saying your guys have, menace equal to their toughness is really good. And he's only 99 cents. I don't understand why this dinosaur doesn't see more play. Such a good dinosaur to have. Maybe because it's 5 mana. But the ability to take that damage all the way down to 1 is just a very strong ability to have. The next dinosaur we're going to talk about, also pretty cheap, only around that $1 range, is Marauding Raptor. It's 1 in a red. Creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, and it's a 2/3. So it's a dinosaur, right? So it's going to trigger all your dinosaur things. It's only 2 mana, and it makes your other dinosaurs cheaper, and it's a pretty hefty 2/3 body. So it means it's gonna hang out for a moment, not gonna die to shocks, especially in the early game where you're not playing a bunch of huge creatures. But it also has, whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals 2 damage to it. If a dinosaur is dealt damage that way, Marauding Raptor gets +2/+0 until end of turn. So you could also potentially play a bunch of dinosaurs and make this dude super huge, and it's unlikely. They're dinosaurs, they're kind of like dragons where they're pretty chunky. They're unlikely to die to that 2 damage, especially if you have Temple Altasaur out, right? So really they're only taking 1 damage. If any of them have those, I think it's like enrage effects, it's going to trigger all those, where if they take damage, an effect happens. So the next one I want to talk about is Regisaur Alpha. So he's 3, a red and a green for a creature dinosaur. Other dinosaurs you control have haste, very nice. And when it enters the battlefield, it creates a 3/3 green dinosaur creature token with trample, and it's a 4/4. So you get 5 mana for 7 power on 2 bodies, super nice. The 3/3 has trample thanks to the Regisaur Alpha, and the Regisaur Alpha is already a 4/4, so it's a solid blocker. It's going to give all your dinosaurs haste, so if you want to just play a bunch of dinosaurs, they're ready to attack immediately, and that's pretty handy. And this guy's only $1 too. So I think if we get some really good dinosaurs that kind of help boost the dinosaur tribe, cards like this are definitely going to go up in price. The next one I want to talk about, one of my favorite dinosaurs, and one of the more expensive ones, it's around that $6 mark, is the Awakening Suns Avatar. It's 5 and 3 white, so kind of hard for a 3-color deck, but definitely worth it. It's a dinosaur avatar. When it enters the battlefield, if you cast it from your hand, destroy all non-dinosaur creatures, and it's a 7/7. So you're playing Dinosaur Tribal anyway, so this is a one-sided board wipe. And you're just wrecking them, and then if you got the Marauding, or the Regisaur Alpha out, you're just swinging right away with all this. This guy is a game ender for dinosaur decks. He just says, sorry, you don't have blockers anymore. And I have a lot of dinosaurs. Also, if necessary, it just wipes the board and you are left with a 7/7, which is still very nice. So like, it looks good. Like when it's like win more stance, and it looks good, and it's like worse stance where it's like it's all you've got. The only place it looks bad, I guess, is if you're playing like a changeling or another dinosaur deck where you're like, oh shucks, you don't lose anything. But outside of that, just such a good card, and it's $6. If dinosaurs make a comeback in D&D, you're gonna want to pick this up. And obviously, the commander to lead that dinosaur tribe is Shoth, Sun's Avatar. He's only around $12 right now, but more dinosaurs come out, he's immediately going to go up. So pretty much the only dinosaur commander. I mean, there's technically Zakama as well, but Zakama is more like combo off, untap all your lands, do stuff like that, where Shoth cares about dinosaurs. So he's 5, a red, a green, and a white, so Naya. Legendary creature, dinosaur avatar. Trample, vigilance, and haste. That's a pretty spicy combo right there all on its own. He's a 7/6, so that means that trample, vigilance, and haste means something when it's a big body like that. But there's more. When Shoth's Sun Avatar deals combat damage to a player, reveal that many cards from the top of your library. Put any number of dinosaur creature cards from among them onto the battlefield, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Any number. Now, I had a dinosaur deck for a long time, and I whiffed all the time. I'd like get no dinosaurs, but technically, if you know how to build a deck, which apparently I don't, you're hitting like 3-4 dinosaurs every time it connects, and you're gonna have ways to boost him up to make him bigger. And so, dealing like just even 5 damage, 5 cards, if you hit only 2 dinosaurs, that's such good value. And right now he's only like I said, like $12-13. If some more dinosaurs come out in D&D, especially good ones, he's gonna go up so quick because he's just an amazing dinosaur commander. The only way he doesn't go up is they make a better dinosaur commander, but that's really hard to do. I think Shoth is such a good commander for dinosaurs. So on to Druids. We've talked about big, angry dinos. Let's talk about some generally more chill, hanging out dudes, the Druids. And the first one we're talking about, the cheapest one, but also the one that I think is the most interesting, is Avenging Druid. So he's 2 and a green for a creature Druid. If Avenging Druid deals damage, if he damages any opponent, you may reveal cards from your library until you reveal a land card. Put that land into play and put all other revealed cards into your graveyard. He reminds me of that hermit that goes until he finds a basic land. But I think he's better, right? Because this one actually cares about getting damage in. The Hermit like taps to do it. He doesn't really care about the land. He cares about milling yourself like a heck ton. Whereas Avenging Druid actually cares you're going to get a good land. And it's any land, and it comes into play untapped. So I just think it's so good, and it's only 16 cents. He has a 1-3, so it's going to take some finagling for him to get damage through. But it's mono green. I mean, the amount of like instant spells that just say, hey, you're going to get trampled and a little extra buff to your power, it's not hard to set it up to where he's hitting someone every turn. So we're talking about the Avenging Druid. Let's also talk about some other ways to get Druids. So there's the Llanowar Mentor, which is 1 green mana for a creature elf shapeshifter. You can pay a green and tap it to discard a card to create a 1/1 green elf druid creature token named Llanowar Elves. It has tap, add a green mana. So this is popular in elf decks, right? And I noticed that was kind of a theme. Elves tended to be druids. You'll see that as I talk about a lot more of the druids. So there's kind of this common ground there. So while I don't know if the druids in D&D set are going to be elves, druids are also going to be elves. So cards that care about elves will be helpful for druid decks. So like the Llanowar Mentor, who isn't technically a druid, but it makes a bunch of druids. So I can see it being a useful card in the deck. It's only like 14 cents, so it's an easy pickup if you're making like a budget druids deck. But I could also see it going up in price. The next druid I want to talk about is the Llanowar Druid, another elf. It's 1 and a green for a 1/2. You tap to sacrifice it, but you untap all your forests. So druids have a very common theme of just caring about mana, being very like, not mana hungry, like they don't have a lot of mana sinks, but they will produce a ton of mana. And I totally see that being a thing in the D&D Forgotten Realms set. So these guys are gonna care about mana. I mean, you'll see in the next card I talk about, which is currently the only druid legendary. So they care about mana, they make a lot of mana. And Llanowar Druid's no different. It's going to untap all your forests. So it could essentially be 2 mana, gain 10 mana? Tap, sacrifice a creature, gain 10 mana. That's pretty heckin' good, especially since green is great at returning creatures and stuff, just like black is. Not just like, but it's great at returning cards from your graveyard to your hand, so you can do this a couple times. Really net a ton of mana. And it's only 28 cents. Come on. So like I said, I was going to talk about that legendary. So right now the only legendary druids have is Seton, Croson Protector. He's green for a Centaur Druid Legend 2/2. And it has tap and untap to druid you control. Add green to your mana pool. So like I said, mana thriving maybe? Just makes so much mana, kind of like elf decks do, which makes sense because a lot of druids are elves. So you're tapping your druids, you're making a lot of mana. So I probably see if they make a druid commander. I don't think it's going to be monocolored. I think it's going to have 2 colors at least, which will let you kind of add in some of those. I think it's going to be green-black, just based off what we see in Strixhaven, a lot of the druids being green and black. But yeah, I think it's probably going to have a mana sink on it, so wanting these guys that also help you make a ton of mana are really going to be helpful. And this guy's only $1.61. Like, druids are so cheap right now, except for like one of them. One true like druid carrying card is $13. We'll talk about it in a sec. But yeah, I just really see these guys going up, and they're really easy to pick up right now. So next time we're going to talk about is the Devoted Druid, which is a combo-tastic card right there. It is 1 and a green for a creature elf druid. It has tap to add a green mana. But you can put a -1/-1 counter on Devoted Druid to untap the Devoted Druid, and it's a 0/2. So theoretically, you could tap it for green, untap it, put a -1 counter on it, tap it for green one more time to get 2 mana out of it. But there's so many ways to just say creatures can't get -1 counters, or like to untap it, put a +1/+1 counter on it, stuff like that, so that it just never gets those counters and just taps for infinite mana. It's already a $2.47 card. But especially if a druid commander comes out, it's going to be a mana hungry deck. We just know it. So having a card like this with its combo buddies is just going to be really good. The next one I want to talk about is a card that can be your commander, and that is Freylei's Llanowar's Fury, which was just reprinted in the Commander Legends green set. or like special set or whatever they call it. And it's 3 a green and a green for a legendary Planeswalker Freyleys. Starts with 3 loyalty, but it has +2, create a 1/1 green elf druid creature token with tap, add green mana. So it makes land war elves, but it makes druids, which is what we care about. And it also has a ton of other super helpful effects, like it's -2, which says destroy target artifact or enchantment, always helpful. And then its -6 is draw a card from each green creature you control. So it's got card draw, it's got artifact enchantment removal, and it makes druids. It's just kind of nice all-in-one package, especially for a druid or elf deck. And right now it's about $10, but if they make a druid commander, especially if it's a nice, really good legend that just really sparks people's interest, she's gonna go up in price. She does all this stuff, plus she makes a druid. It's just an easy include, in my opinion. The next one I want to talk about is the Gilt Leaf Arch Druid. This is probably one of my more favorite ones, just because I think it's cool. So it's a 3 a green and a green for a creature elf druid. It's a 3/3, and whenever you play a druid spell, you may draw a card. Awesome. Blatantly cares about druids. And you get to draw a card, which is one of the best things to do in Magic. So yeah, I mean, that's a great start. It's $13. That makes sense. Oh, but there's more. You can tap 7 untapped druids you control to gain control of all lands target player controls. See all those lands you have? Yeah, they're mine now, because I have a bunch of druids. And, I mean, you got Freyleys making druids, you got the Llanowar Mounter making druids, you get like 14 druids out there. Those lands are mine, those lands are mine, those lands are mine, and then your opponents don't have lands. And you should probably win quickly before they hurt you. But all jokes aside, it's a great card for druid decks, because more for the drawing the cards. The second ability is going to make you a target. They're going to see that and be like, oh, he's going to steal my lands. So either you can just protect the heck out of yourself, or you're a good silver tongue talker and you can kind of talk them out of that, being like, I'm not going to do that. That's mean. I wouldn't do that. And maybe you won't, which is nice of you. But I wouldn't count you out for doing it. It's a great ability, and especially if you're going to win on the spot there. Usually if you're going to do things like that, you want to win on the spot. And then the last druid we're going to talk about is Priest of Titania. One of the only cards here that doesn't actually care about druids necessarily, but does care about another tribe. So it's 1 and a green for an elf druid, and it says tap, add a green to your mana pool for each elf on the battlefield, and it's a 1/1. So you might be thinking, well, we care about druids, not elves. Well, when you look, I picked out 8 cards to talk about, and 6 of them either make elves. Actually, yeah, 6 of them either make elves or are elves. Druids tend to be elves. So one that is also a druid, so it's going to help with that druid tribal, and it's probably going to profit on your, basically your creature subtype of elves. Sub-theme, of elves. It's still going to make a ton of mana. It's $14 right now. It's just going to go up if they make a good druid tribal commander, especially if it's an elf too. But that's all I got. Do you guys have any creature types you think would be obvious that I forgot about? Or do you disagree with any of my choices? As always, like and subscribe. I do some Twitch stuff under Cameronius. I think that's all I got. You guys have a super califragilistic expialidocious day. See you in the next video.